Greetings one and all, and welcome to Beyblade Central. So glad to see you here. For today's show, we'll be doing a review of every single one of Hasbro CX beys. That's right, even though TT just released CX a few months ago, we're already getting them in stores in North America, which is insane since I don't think that has ever been the case in Beyblade's history. Similar to my video about TT CX, I decided that rather than having 4 separate videos, I'm just going to put them all in one video since a lot of my thoughts are shared across all 4 beys. The 4 debut beys include the CX debut beys, Drawn Brave or Courage Dran, Wizard Arc or Arc Wizard, and Perseus Dark or Dark Perseus, as well as the prize bey for the first CX random booster, Hell's Reaper or Reaper Incendio. Personally, this is the one I was most looking forward to since I have yet to get my hand on the original TT version since I cannot for the life of me find a worthwhile price for the full set, and the only one I was able to find decided to change the price on me last minute and was overcharging me by like $100, so yeah, no way I'm going to be paying that much, but I will get that random booster at some point. Taking a moment to appreciate the new box design for the CX base, I have said it once and I'll say it again, I 100% prefer the Hasbro boxes over the TT boxes, not because the TT boxes are bad, but because I personally like to see the actual product in the box for something like this, and Hasbro has once again done such an amazing job on the box. Just like with TT, the boxes have a pink highlight to set them apart from the other lines. They also changed the color of the tabs for the tab opener, which is something they didn't have to do, but it's nice that they did, even though again it doesn't really do anything else. Since the CX line divides the blade into 3 parts, these boxes accommodate for that by displaying each part of the blade, and they just look so good, especially Drawn Brave. I do gotta say, I am a bit disappointed with the price since the price was increased for these starters from the original $9.99 to $12 to $13.99, which is admittedly not a huge price increase, but because of this price increase, it leads me to believe that we won't be seeing CX as boosters or in 2-packs, which means one or two things will happen. Either one, we won't be seeing CX too often, but when we do, we'll see several of them, or 2, most of the future starters will be exclusively CX bey releases, and BX and UX will be released mostly in boosters and 2-packs. I would really prefer the second option, since while I do wish Hasbro would make more of their own original colors, I would also like to see some of these recolors from TT, like the White Perseus Dark and the Gold Fox Brush, be released for Hasbro. Not only that, but it would make it a lot easier for CX releases like Rhino Reaper and Well Flame to be released for Hasbro, since those don't come with new blades, but they do come with new chips and new assist blades. Another very possible but very unlikely scenario is Hasbro releases CX exclusive 2-packs, which would cost close to $20 I would imagine. I don't know if I would like this, but if it means we get more CX beys, then that's fine. And if they come with Hasbro exclusive beys, whether it be from just exclusive CX chips or assist blades, then I will be all for it. But again, I highly doubt this is going to happen, and I highly doubt that Hasbro would release their own exclusive main blades. But you never know. I for one would pretty much buy anything and everything regarding the CX line, since I am one of the very few people who actually like this line. I very much love this line, and I would love to see what Hasbro does with it. But anyways, I'm just blabbering at this point, so let's move on to the actual review. Alright, now that we have everything out of the box, let's take a look at each one individually, starting off with Perseus Dark. Perseus Dark or Dark Perseus is the debut defense type bey for the CX system, and I gotta say, just like with most defense types, I am very disappointed. Perseus Dark is meant to be a reimagining of Gravity Perseus or Gravity Destroyer from the MFB era, and it does a pretty good job at it. The chip design are very similar, the color scheme remains the same, and even the general shape is the same. However, the bit is the one thing from this bey I really hate. The wedge bit is by far the worst bit in all of X, even worse than Spike, due to how stupidly thin it is. Defense stoppers are best when using bits that will either make it near impossible to move from the center, or have a wide enough bit to counterattack if it does move from the center, but wedge doesn't do either of these things and it just hinders the performance of the bay. While there are some that would argue that it's pretty good for stamina, it's not. It's just bad. It has no stamina, no defense, no attack. It's a really useless ass bit. Like, don't even use it for anything unless you want to lose. Wedge sucks. Luckily, to make up for it, it comes with an incredibly good ratchet and possibly the best assist blade. The Ratchet 680 is a new ratchet that looks very nice and clean. While 660 would definitely be better, since it was released with Drawn Brave, it makes sense that they would have given 680 to Perseus. The assist blade bump is what I consider one of the best assist blades so far, since it has some pretty good weight to it, and because when placed with most of the main blades, especially Dark, it covers up those gaps which increases burst resistance, which is something it desperately needs because of its height. Speaking of the Dark blade, it's a pretty good blade for CX, however in general, none of the CX blades are all that good. Overall, not a bad release. It comes with a pretty cool chip, a really good ratchet, really good assist blade. Main blade, not so much, but it's still kind of there just compared to other CX blades, because really compared to BX or even UX, CX doesn't really do all that well. But overall, Perseus is pretty good. The only thing I really hate about this release is the bit. Please do yourself the favor and change the bit. Wedge fucking sucks. What doesn't suck as much is the next bay, Wizard Arc or Arc Wizard. Wizard Arc is the standard type debut for the CX line, and it's a super okay bay. Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as with the Rod, it's a UX variant, which is a shame. Based off of the parts, you would think it'd be great, but unfortunately this isn't the case. While the low orb bit is a good bit, other bits like Free Ball are just much better for stamina. But you know, if you want a very low build for stamina types, low orb, pretty good. 445 on the other hand is not as good, since while yes it is the shortest ratchet we've gotten so far, it can't even work as a paperweight because of how light it is. Using this ratchet is like you're not using a ratchet at all, and that's not even to mention its burst resistance, or should I say the complete absence of it, because even with a high burst resistance bit, this blade will burst on the slightest touch. Not only because of its very low burst resistance mechanism, but because the 4 points are very much exposed and might as well be advertising where it's hit. Also, due to its square shape, it doesn't work well for stamina types. So yeah, it's not a good ratchet and I'd stay away from it. Moving on to the actual blade itself, we have the round assist blade or auxiliary blade as Hasbro calls it. And I actually like the name change. Assist blade would imply it actually helps with the main blade for its attacks or whatever it does. But since most of these do the complete opposite of that, I think the name auxiliary blade would be much more fitting, since they do essentially act as secondary blades. But regardless, the rounded auxiliary blade is pretty meh. While I think it could be good for stamina builds, I'm not a huge fan of how slightly taller it is than the other assist blades, since again CX is already pretty tall and it really hinders its performance. Not to mention the excessive amount of gaps it has killed off any potential for weight. And on top of that, despite having a very similar shape to the main blade, they don't line up. So yeah, how fun. Luckily, both the main blade and the chip are actually pretty good. This is by far my favorite Wizard design, and my only real complaint about this chip is the color they chose for the plastic, since this lime green is quite ugly. I don't like it at all. Arc on the other hand, I have absolutely no complaints about it. It has a sleek design, the painted details are blended very well with the rest of the blade, and the shape can be good for stamina builds. We simply need to get better parts for it. Overall, the blade fully assembled does look a bit ugly due to its odd color scheme, since Wizard are typically yellow or gold, but apparently that was too hard for TT this time around. So it's a semi-worthwhile bay. Then we have the attack debut and arguably the worst one out of the bunch, Drawn Brave or Courage Drawn. While I am not affected by the name change as much as other people seem to be, I gotta say, for as sick as this bay is, it has one very tiny, not so tiny fatal flaw that makes it pretty much useless. It has no attack power. More on that later though, since we first gotta check out the bit, which is Vortex, the mirror version of Cyclone. And I gotta say, just like with Cyclone, I really don't care about this bit. Like at all. Not one bit. Just kidding, it's an okay bit. It's just definitely one I prefer other bits like Rush or Low Flat and Excel over both Cyclone and Vortex. But again, it's not a bad bit, it just comes down to person preferences, and I like Excel and Low Flat and all those other bits far more than I like Vortex and Cyclone. What doesn't come to person preference is just how amazing the 660 ratchet is and looks. The white and cyan color scheme work very well together, and it's a nice change of pace for the drawn line. So I gotta say, nothing bad about this ratchet. I really like it. Very glad to get another copy. Unlike the assist blade, which is by far the worst assist blade to be conceived, since getting this despite having a similar shape to the main blade and aligns much better when compared to round and arc, it decides to tell the main blade it can go fuck itself and decides to hijack all attack power, and since it's made out of plastic, it's complete dog shit. But not to worry, you can simply change the assist blade and make it far better, right? Right? Well, my friend, that's where you're absolutely wrong, since the blade also fucks itself by being far too round to do any good smash attack, and has plastic covering the only part of the blade where it can have some pretty decent attacks coming from it. So yeah, another Savior Valkyrie situation. But hopefully, just like with Savior Valkyrie, it gets replaced eventually with something far better. It is a shame though, since this chip is by far the best out of the debut chip design, and it's not even close. This is one of the best variant chips we've gotten from any type of line, whether it be BX, UX, or CX. It's gotta be one of the best designs ever, and it truly feels like a drawn sword evolution, which is quite nice. But of course, this isn't an evolution, this is just a variant, a CX variant of drawn sword. But hey, regardless, I still love the chip design, and just for this and this ratchet, it makes this whole release worth it. Now for the bay I am sure you've all been waiting for, this CX bay of the protagonist of X, the one that's nearly impossible to get from TT's side of things, the balance type debut of the CX line, the one and only Hell's Reaper or Reaper Incendio. This bay in particular is not only one of the best CX bays out of the box, both in terms of performance and value regarding parts. The Hasbro version comes in a starter, which is so much better than TT's releases, because I cannot for the life of me get TT's Hell's Reaper. It's been such a fucking pain to try to get that random booster. Anyways, this bay only comes with one repeating part, which is 470, which is not a very good ratchet, but again, it could have been a lot worse, so I don't really care about it. Moving on. Personally, I would have preferred 670 or 770 since those aren't very common parts, but you know, I can let it slide because the color is very cool, especially for that core. That ratchet core, definitely going to be using it for some customs. I don't know which one, but I'll be using it for something. The brand new bit is called Kick, which is a hybrid of both Hexa and Taper, taking the best out of both worlds and making this incredible bit. While Unite is somewhat of a tapered hybrid with either ball or needle, it focuses a lot more on preserving stamina, but Kick on the other hand focuses on pure aggression with none of the drawbacks by having an incredible amount of stamina. And since this is a balance type bit, it has a high burst resistance, so what's not to love about Kick? Moving on to the assist blade, this is the one that takes full advantage of its nature by being a mode changing assist blade, which can be removed to go from attack to defense position. And before you ask, no, you cannot simply use the assist blade without the attachment. It has to be there. The attachment is actually a pretty good gimmick for the assist blade, and is again the first one that takes full advantage of the fact it's a removable part. The Reaper blade is a bit thin, which is a bit surprising, but thanks to its very round design, it has some pretty good stamina and defense capabilities, and thanks to its height, it can also do some pretty good counterattacks. So overall, pretty good main blade. And lastly, the new Hell's chip is by far the best one so far. Before, my favorite chip for the Hell's line was Hell's Chains, but this chip really said, hold my beer, and did it so much better. It looks incredible. And once put all together, this bay is just simply fantastic. It's a bay I highly recommend anyone to get. Whether you like Hell's line or not, it's a pretty good bay. It comes with pretty solid parts, very nice looking parts as well. And since this was a prize bait for a random booster from TT side of thing, definitely get it. So far, Hasbro CX is starting off very strong. While I would have preferred us to get a few more bays from CX, including Random Reaper and perhaps an exclusive Hasbro CX bay as part of the debut of the CX line, the fact that we got these bays so soon, even before some of the other bays like Steel Samurai, Phoenix Rooter, Night Mail, just goes to show that Hasbro wants to close the gap between the original TT release and Hasbro releases. Whether this will always be the case when it comes to the time gap, I'm pretty sure this is never going to happen again. I'm pretty sure the time gap will remain to be around the 5 to 6 months mark. But you know, as long as we can get these releases more sooner and fucking Hasbro actually fixes their distribution problem, I'm totally okay with having to wait. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss out on any future upload. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.